Hi, my name is Mick Rankin, and this is Conservative Chat. I will bring the issues of the day and give them a good common sense discussion. Now, I believe we get emotional on a lot of issues, and if we look at the whole picture, we can digest the various points and find where truth overcomes emotion and bring some common sense and sanity to our discussions. Please feel free to comment. I will read all of them. I won't respond to personal attacks, but I will reply to every real concern, sometimes individually, sometimes as a group, or on the next podcast. We may not agree, but we can at least agree to disagree. On today's podcast, I will discuss a couple of different but related items. The first is access to health care and how rural hospitals are in danger of closing. The second is about the economy. Now, I know some of you may have thought I will discuss the GOP presidential candidate debate last night, but I'm going to leave that for another day as we approach the primary. It is frankly too soon to evaluate a candidate based on one debate performance. There are many miles to go in this campaign. Okay, today's podcast developed out of four sources. The first was a Fox Business News article that said the rural North Carolina hospital was the 11th forced to shut down or change services this year. The second is the United States unemployment rate, July 2023, by tradingeconomics.com. The other one is employment by industry, monthly changes by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the unemployment rate by industry by Statistica. I wanted to take on this subject when I read the Fox News article that noted 11 rural North Carolina hospitals have closed or changed services. Here in Wilson, we've had some challenges with our hospital maintaining their Medicare certificate. When a hospital or medical facility closes or changes services, the impact is devastating to people who depend on those medical facilities. The report noted the local population's increasing age and declining use of hospitals cause the closures or loss of services. And this is because rural hospitals are primarily used by an older population that are retired using Medicare and also tend to have a large number of Medicaid users. These facilities must meet minimum standards for Medicare and Medicaid patients, and if they do not, government will not pay the bills and they will decertify that facility. If they're not certified, well, other insurance companies may also refuse treatment or allow their patients to use the facility. Beyond that, once certified, hospitals must accept Medicare and Medicaid. But these programs pay pennies on the dollar for billed treatment. So having that as a primary insurance payer means that the medical facilities are losing money. They cannot afford staffs or facilities. In order for a medical facility, from private doctors to hospitals, to be solvent, they must have the patients who have insurance or the resources that will pay more of the billed amount in order to be able to pay for those facilities and staff. Rural access problem will likely continue as Medicaid expansion kicks in. I'll explain why. For medical services primarily funded with a government program, there's a hidden cost rarely highlighted, and that's the patient wait time. Medicaid expansion proponents claim that expansion brings more jobs, improves the economy, and increases access. What they fail to explain is where the skilled professionals come from to fill those jobs. Now, the healthcare industry is experiencing the lowest unemployment rate of 2.8% of almost any other industry. A low unemployment rate and an increasing number of jobs is a recipe for disaster. There's simply not enough skilled workers to fill the job openings. The ones who are available to fill those openings are going to be taking the highest paying jobs, typically in large urban areas, and that's leaving rural communities out in the cold. Less healthcare workers means longer wait times and less service. But this is not just about healthcare. It's about the economy. And this is a second area of discussion. Medicare and Medicaid pay pennies on the dollar, as I noted before. Without the jobs that provide the quality healthcare insurance, then the healthcare facilities lack the financial stability to remain open in the rural areas. In the latest jobs report, the two areas of largest job growth were healthcare and leisure. Well, the healthcare industry depends on government subsidies, and that includes Medicare and Medicaid. Leisure industry, of which food service is the largest segment, has the lowest wage earners and typically lacks health care benefits. Well, the construction and manufacturing industries offering high paying jobs with benefits have had flat or declining job growth. Transportation and warehousing is even worse, showing a consistently negative job growth pattern. As I noted before, job growth coupled with low unemployment rates means there are more jobs than workers. And that's exactly the position we're in where businesses cannot find enough workers. Sounds like a good problem to have, but if you don't have the workers to keep a business open, well, then you can't make money. And some businesses have had to scale back on their hours because they don't have the workers to keep it open. In other words, it costs them more to pay somebody to be there than it does to keep it open. Part of that is an imbalance on the type of worker skills and who is working. There are three important terms we have to understand in the job market: labor force, unemployment rate, and the labor participation rate. Now, labor force is the number of people working or looking for work, not the entire population. Some people cannot work, and some people refuse to work. Unemployment rate is the number of people looking for work divided by the labor force. It makes it appear lower than if we included everybody who is unemployed, whether or not they were looking for work. It does not account for the number of open jobs, only the worker numbers. Well, the labor force participation rate is the labor force divided by the population that can work. And that's taking out all those who are disabled, or too young, too old, or whatever other reason that they were ineligible to hold a job. So let's talk about the people who are not working and not looking. Some are disabled and cannot perform the work requirements. Some have long-term injuries that prevent them from working. Some have given up just trying to work. Now, this is a complex issue and more than they're just being lazy. They may find that if they're having some sort of government assistance, if they make too much money, that government assistance may be cut off. And if they cut off the government assistance, well, they're not making enough money on the job in order to make up that difference. And so they have to make that decision on whether or not to work or continue with the government assistance. It may cost more in child care than the person can make. If somebody's has to have child care and they go to a job and it's costing them more to pay the child care than what they can make, they can't work. It does not make sense to do so. And of course, there's lack of skills and things like that that prevent people from getting the type of jobs that they need to make enough money to survive. So going back to the idea of a low unemployment rate seems like a good thing. Well, it's a broad definition that fails to account for all eligible workers in the workforce. It just counts those workers not working but still looking for a job. The breakout by sector makes it appear that the sector is healthy because the unemployment rate is low, but it does not account for the unfilled jobs. The sectors are healthy when they are both creating jobs and have the workers to fill those jobs, or those workers are in training to fill those jobs. That's where the labor participation rate becomes important. The labor participation rate has hovered around 62% since 2022. That means 38% of eligible workers are not working. Across all sectors, there's an imbalance of where businesses need workers, so over a third of all eligible workers are staying home. There's another anomaly with the labor force participation rate that is not accounting for people that are working for more than one job. So it only counts if somebody's working. It doesn't count if they're working at two different jobs. Now we circle back to what does the job market and economy have to do with healthcare access? Well, jobs that pay more and have healthcare benefits provide hospitals with the revenue stability since those benefits pay more for treatment than government programs. Large industrial employers typically offer higher wage jobs. Higher wage jobs contribute more tax revenue that supports government programs, for example, healthcare programs. Large industrial type businesses also contribute to the local economy through increased small businesses. And what I mean by that is a large business comes in and it has to have other supporting businesses such as cleaning services, housing construction, transportation, restaurants, things like that, that all increase around that large business. Increased small businesses mean more people are working, and more people working takes the pressure off the Medicaid enrollments. It all comes down to that. So here's my take. We need to re examine access to health care to best support our community. For example, which is better, an expanded urgent care and emergency department or a full service hospital? A urgent care emergency department facility that can stabilize patients and send them to a neighboring hospital and treat urgent cases that need immediate attention, then refer them to a primary care provider for follow up may be a more cost effective option, or at least it seems that way. However, if we were to go down that path, we would still have the issue of medical facilities not being adequately funded or staffed. Sooner or later, we would end up back in the same situation where we don't have the staff or resources to accommodate healthcare access. It just kicks the can down the road. The better answer is expanding our industrial job base for greater economic growth to better support our hospital, grow the economy, and have more people working. Otherwise, you just have to cut costs, and that's not what most people really want to see. So that's all for this podcast. Tell me what you think. If you like it, please subscribe so you get the latest podcast as I post it. Mick Rankin, signing off.